Good morning. Would everybody please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I want to thank you all for coming to our June 12th, 2013 meeting. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Posenel?
Present.
Commissioner Selberg?
Present.
Commissioner Buck?
Here.
Commissioner Azarmi?
Here.
Commissioner Walker?
Here.
Commissioner Coletta?
Here.
Commissioner Jones?
Here.
Commissioner Simons?
Present.
Commissioner Gordon? Chairman Fouché?
Present.
Thank you. You have a quorum.
Our standard little announcement today. Anyone who has not yet signed in, please do so at the table located in the lobby. Should anyone wish to speak, please complete the request to speak form, which is located at the lobby table next to the sign-up sheet. A request to speak form must be completed for each item you would like to speak on, including sub-items. Please note that there are stairs on the right, left, and center aisle, and we ask that you use caution when using these stairs. There's also a ramp located at the audience's left. If anyone has any written comments, exhibits, petitions, photos, or letters they intend to present at today's meeting, please have 17 copies and give them to the staff member at the back of the auditorium. And she's back there. Members of the public cannot speak to staff members that are sitting at the table with the microphones up front during the meeting. If you have any questions, please see the staff member located in the back, and she'll talk to you in the outside of the auditorium. A timer will be activated, and all speakers will be limited to 2 minutes to make their presentations and statements. Everyone, please turn off your cell phones and pagers and place them on vibrate during the meeting. If you must receive a call, please leave the meeting area and go outside to have your conversation. We also ask the audience to refrain from talking to anyone during the meeting and presentation. Today's Planning Zoning Commission, we have public testimony and then forward the recommendation to the Board of Supervisors. The items with the recommendations made by the Commission will be heard by the Board of Supervisors on Monday, July 1st at 9:30 a.m. in the same location with the exception of any continued items. Everyone attending the meeting is asked to remember that the auditorium, building, and campus are tobacco-free areas, which means no smoking is allowed curb to curb. Only bottled water is allowed in the auditorium. No food, soda, coffee, etc. is allowed. If there's any agenda item remaining, any item left on the agenda, the Commission will break for lunch at 1 p.m. Approval of last month's minutes. Everybody had a chance to review those, and any changes or corrections? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I'll move that we accept the last month's minutes as read and stated.
I'll second it.
We have a motion and a second to approve the minutes from last month's meeting. Those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Thank you very much. Item number 1.
Item 1 is an evaluation of a request for a rezone of assessor's parcel number 224-20021 from an AR, agricultural residential 1 acre minimum lot size zone, to an NP, neighborhood park zone, to allow establishment of a neighborhood public park and establish minimum parking requirements in the South Mohave Valley vicinity. Staff recommends approval as indicated in the staff report. Thank you.
We have, is the applicant present?
It's Mohave County.
Oh, I just said it, we have no speakers on the items. Any questions or comments from staff?
Mr. Chairman.
Or commission?
Mr. Chairman, I just want to let you know that I'm heavily involved in this project, but I consulted with Mr. Taylor, and I can attend, the vote and everything. So just want to let you know.
Thank
and
you.
if any of the commissioners have any questions on this item, I'll be more than happy to answer.
Any questions or comments? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion, item number 1.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion to approve item number 1 per staff recommendations.
I'll
Second.
second.
We have a motion and a second for item number 1. Those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. The motion carries. Item number 2.
Evaluation of a subdivision preliminary plan and petition of exception for Fossil Creek, Tract 4236, being a proposed subdivision of a portion of Section 14, Township 19 North, Range 22 West, in the South Mohave Valley vicinity. There was a petition of exception requested at the time of this report. However, upon further review, the petition of exception request was resolved and is no longer necessary. This preliminary plan has about 60 single-family residential lots on approximately 19.46 acres, and each lot is about 7,150 square feet in size. The roadways will be dedicated to the public, and the project is proposed in one phase. Staff recommends approval of this plan as stated in this report.
Is the applicant present? Would you like to address the commission? If you have any questions, thank you, Ray. Any questions or comments from the commission?
Mr. Chairman, it's great to see subdivisions coming
I
before
know,
us.
I know. Progress.
So we all need to take Ray out to lunch today.
That's right. Next month, when you turn dirt. Any questions or comments? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve per staff recommendation.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. Those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Item number 3.
Item 3 is an evaluation of a request to grant an extension to determine compliance with the schedule for development or to rescind and cause property to revert from C2 General Commercial and C2H General Commercial Highway Frontage zones to the previous zone of AR 10A Agricultural Residential 10-acre minimum lot size for failure to meet conditions of approval as specified in BOS Resolution numbers 2007-194, 2008-165, and 2010-49, which approved the rezone and extensions of time for rezone of Assessor's Parcel 308-27002 in the Chloride Mineral Park vicinity. Staff recommends that BOS Resolution numbers 2007-194, 2008-165, and 2010-49 be rescinded and the zoning revert to AR 10A, Agricultural Residential 10-acre minimum lot size. Thank you.
The applicant is the county, and is there any questions or comments of the commission?
Is there any response back from the landowner?
Staff, probably not. That's why they're doing it.
Mr. Chairman,
Mr.
Commissioner Walker, no, we've not received a response.
Any additional questions or comments? I'll entertain a motion on item number 3.
I move we accept item number 3 per staff recommendation.
Second. We have a motion to approve staff recommendations on item number 3. Those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Item number 4.
Item 4 is an evaluation of a request to grant an extension to determine compliance with the schedule for development or to rescind and cause property to revert from ESP Energy Overlay Solar Photovoltaic Overlay Zone to the underlying zone of AR 36A, Agricultural Residential 36-acre minimum lot size for failure to meet the conditions of approval as specified in BOS Resolution 2011-015, which approved the rezone of a portion of Assessor's Parcel number 32901-006 and a portion of 32901-044 in the Table Mountain vicinity. Staff recommends that BOS Resolution 2011-15 be rescinded and that the underlying AR 36A Agricultural Residential 36-acre minimum lot size zone remain intact. And we have not received a response on this one either. Thank you.
So the county is the applicant. Any questions from the commission to staff or anything? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to accept staff recommendations on agenda number 4.
We have a motion and a second to accept staff recommendations on item number 4. Those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Item number 5.
Item 5 is an evaluation of a request for a rezone of assessor's parcel numbers 324-11043 and 044 from C2 General Commercial Zone to C2H General Commercial Highway Frontage Zone to allow additional commercial uses in the Kingman vicinity. Staff recommends approval of the proposed rezone as indicated in the staff report. Thank you.
Is the applicant present? The applicant is not present. We have no speakers on the item. Any questions or comments from the commission?
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
I have a question for the staff. Most of these properties are lower than Route 66 or Highway 66. And I know that, one of the requirements you have is a fence, but that's not going to obscure, I call it trash that you see behind that. Is there any solution to that problem? If you drive on 66, you'll see that, most of these properties are lowered, and even the fence that they have, you still will be able to be visible. And I assume that the logic of that fence is to cover or at least, obscure that trash behind it. So, and I know that Route 66 is a very high traffic for the tourists and all that. So that was my little comment on that one to see if there's any solution for that.
I may request Ms. Ballard to.
Good call.
Mr. Chairman, members of the commission, I'm kind of wondering if I could keep passing it to the mic to the left.
There you go.
I take your point on 66 because this area, it is higher than the surrounding properties. The ordinance with regard to fencing off open storage states that it'll be 6 feet or 2 feet higher than the highest items stored. There are some exceptions for very tall items such as cranes or manufactured homes. So they do have to have the fence 2 feet above the highest items stored. I'm not aware of anything that keeps the commission from asking for a higher fence, such that such basically that the materials cannot be seen from 66. Probably one of the biggest reasons for the fence would be that, down the street, down diagonal, you do begin to get some residential uses, etc. So screening from those uses is probably paramount as far as protecting land values, etc.
Has there been any communication from like the historical society or anything like that about that view? Because that's a major, I assume, corridor for the tourists to go back and forth. And I've noticed since I got a little bit more involved with the Kingman project, there are a lot of international, especially European tourists that they go on this Route 66. So, so what would be the solution? Would be the solution would be to come up with the ordinance to make sure it's cleaned up in that area, or what exactly should be applied to this, because I'm sure you know what I'm talking about. As you drive on that, there you see a lot of junkyard and trash, and it doesn't look good at all.
Mr. Chairman, members of the commission, Mr. Azarmi, in response to that, just kind of not in regard to this property, but just the general area, it would seem to me that the first thing that the department could do would be to make sure that all of the properties along that stretch actually do comply with the ordinance. We are typically complaint-based, so we're not going to be going out and looking for violations. And then if there is a gap, identify the gap. If it's the commission's desire that we address it, then address it.
Thank you.
Well, just to add a little note on there, this particular piece of property, like you said, Route 66 is probably 10 feet higher, 10 feet higher than the property is. So no matter how, unless you put a 35-foot fence, you're going to see over the top. And there are certain areas of 66 that they're businesses, and there's things going on there, and there's just not a whole lot that you can do about it. When you get outside the city limits and you get to Route 66, then people are going to get a different view of it and more of an historical, sightseeing trip. But, when you're going through Kingman or something, you're going to have that type of stuff out there no matter what you do. So I'm not sure if you made them put an 8-foot fence up there, really, what are you doing?
Nothing.
Nothing.
No, Mr. Chairman, no, my point I was trying to conclude is, the logic of the 6 foot or 8 foot, whatever, is not going to be applicable to these sites because the properties are lowered, but definitely because of the traffic and the source of, I would say, economy that brings to Kingman, I think that, there should be some sort of an ordinance to at least do some cleanup, maintenance or something, because, I'm not talking about like industrial, because yes, there are some companies there that are operating and all that, but there are some areas that it looks really, and those who are from Kingman most probably would be able to validate this, that it doesn't look good at all.
Then I think an ordinance would have to be put in place,
Right.
and then someone would have to file a complaint before the county could do anything.
Correct.
Because
I just wanted to
everything's
bring it up to
complaint.
staff
Yeah.
attention that, there are some, areas that needs help.
Just hang on a few minutes. All right, so there we are. Any additional questions or comments? Item number 5. Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make the motion to approve per staff recommendation.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second on item number 5. Those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Item number 6.
Item 6 is an evaluation of a request to amend the Mohave County zoning ordinance, Section 9, definitions, to eliminate the limitation on the duration of a rental or lease. This item was brought to you for an initial look last month, along with a couple of the following ones. This one will basically eliminate a sentence from the definition that defines the period that a lease could be allowed. Appears to be language that is no longer relevant and should be removed. Thank you.
Okay, any questions or comments? We discussed this at our last meeting. Okay, no discussion. I'll entertain a motion. Item number 6.
Mr. Chairman, I'll
Yes.
make a motion to approve item number 6.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Item number 6. Those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Item number 7.
Item 7 is an evaluation of a request to amend the Mohave County zoning ordinance regarding permit requirements in Section 27H2E1 of general provisions, fences and hedges and similar structures to provide for issuance of zoning permits. Staff is recommending approval as indicated in the staff report. This will basically allow issuance of a type of permit that will get around a sort of a catch-22 on fences that are in a mid-height where a building permit is not available, but some sort of a permit is necessary to keep the paperwork process moving on it. Anyway, staff recommends approval as indicated in the staff report. Thank you.
John, what exactly did we change? Because I know we made a change in this, and I don't see anything.
Basically, Mr. Chairman, in subparagraph 1, we're adding the use of a zoning permit in cases where a building permit can't be issued. So it's just the addition of the or zoning permit.
Okay, all right. I know we changed something. It's been a while. All right. Item number 7, any questions or comments of staff? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion.
I move we approve item 7 per staff recommendation.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. Those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Item number 8.
Item 8 is an evaluation of request to amend the Mohave County zoning ordinance to correct the title of Section 27X from Regulations for Energy Overlay E-Zone General Provisions to Regulations for Renewable Energy Development to more accurately describe the contents of the section and to amend Section 27X2A to clarify that the 400 square foot limitation applies only on residential properties less than 1 acre. Staff recommends approval as indicated in the staff report. Thank you.
Well, obviously, the applicant is the county. Any questions or comments from the commission? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion on item number 8.
I'll make a motion to approve item number 8 according to staff recommendations.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve item number 8. Those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. Item number 9.
Item 9 is an evaluation of request to amend the Mohave County zoning ordinance, Section 25, setbacks and area requirements, to provide clarification and to increase the maximum density of lot coverage. Based on discussion at the last meeting, staff has taken what was, I believe, option 3 and has recommended approval of that version. Thank you.
Any questions or comments of staff?
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
Okay, this one is the one that, I always had problem with because of the construction and all that, basically is involved. A lot of it on the, 6,000 square foot, which is the minimum size lots, and coverage that you're going to have. And John, on your item that you have, the 3rd paragraph, you mentioned that, one suggestion has been to replace the current structure with simple maximum allowance of 50% lot coverage. Although attractive for its simplicity, this solution does raise some issues. Could you tell me what those are issues?
Sure. Basically, they come in primarily on the small lots. Right now...
small, you mean 6,000 square foot?
Yeah, basically like the 6,000 square foot lots. The current allowance is actually more than 50%. So if we went with just a straight 50% on those smaller lots, and I don't recall exactly where the break point is, but we would actually be reducing the amount that people are currently entitled to if we went with a straight 50%.
John, I disagree with you 100%. If you have a 6,000 square foot lot, 60 by 100, which is very typical, the maximum, if they use every square inch of that within the setback, it adds up to 49.5%. Because you have 20 foot in the front, 25 in the back, that's 45%. Then you have 255 on each side, which is 5 feet wide. If you add it up, that's 110, which is basically would be adding up to buildable would be 49.5%. So to say that a 6,000 square foot lot is going to use more than 50%, this is not correct. My suggestion on this, and again, I haven't, to be honest with you, I haven't listened to Ms. Ballard and several meetings that we had together, and yourself. I really don't understand why we are going through all these charts and all that when we can just simply, in my opinion, And my suggestion would be to go 20 feet setback in the front, 20 feet setback in the back, and stay with 50% altogether. I mean, I just need to know why it would not be practical.
Mr. Chairman, Commissioner Azarmi, if you only look at the setbacks, at the minimum setbacks, your calculations are probably correct. But there is also a provision that currently allows further encroachment into the rear setback that takes it up to like 56% on a 6,000 square foot lot.
Yeah, but John, isn't that if you put a patio or something?
On the small ones, it's unenclosed, but it does allow lot coverage.
Right.
And lot coverage includes anything that's under roof.
Yeah.
So even if it's unenclosed.
But John, you and I both know that, nobody is going to stay within the footprint because of obvious reasons, architectural reasons and all that, and most likely Paul would be able to validate that more than anybody else as an architect. They're not going to just build on the front setback like a box. They'll basically have some, indentation in the front, elevation, foyer, and all that. And again, when you talk about 6,000 square foot lots, there was a time that, septic permit would be issued for like 10,000 square foot lots. And that's why you would have a lot of properties and subdivisions that would be 80 by 125 because you could have a septic system in there. Now, with the minimum requirement that you have a 1 acre plus for the septic and subject to the perk test, I really don't think it's feasible for any subdivision to go like, that size. Either they're going to go for 6,000 square foot or they're going to go, different project. And again, the only stipulation on that is if they have a grading problem. Let's say they have a hill in the back or they have a drop in the back or something that, they would incorporate that as part of the lot. So again, I'd like to hear why can't we go to 50% and 20 foot in the front, 20 foot in the back?
5 on the sides.
5 on the side, yes.
And we've talked about this several times.
Right.
And I'm
Mr. Chairman,
puzzled.
Mr. Azarmi, I would like to point out that Mohave County has a 25-foot setback in the rear yard. So that is something that is new, at least to me. We can certainly take a look at the setbacks. There's no, they're not cast in concrete. There's no, the world will not come to an end if we let go of that 5 feet. However, that's not the amendment that is before the commission right now.
Well, I understand, but I'm just providing you, what I recommend, what I suggest as a solution to this problem. I mean, if you want to just stay on the item, I would just say that 50%. 50% coverage, that would be the solution. And you don't have to worry about all these charts and, going back and forth and all that. Giving you an example, if somebody has a 20,000 square foot lot and you have 30%, which gives you a 6,000 square foot or 8,000 square foot. Now, if somebody has a 20,000 square foot wants to build a antique car garage in the back of his property, and then have a house and a 3-car garage, you're kind of forcing them to stop at that square footage. But as I said, that the lot would accommodate that, that would be fine. Then you have the setback requirement of the 25 feet. So in the back of their lot, 25 feet, they have to give up to nothing because it's not going to be used. So what I'm saying is that, it seems like this is not, although I know that, I'm sure that there were a lot of time spent on this thing, but I think that, my suggestion would be to open up the architectural hands a little bit more to be able to use the 50% with those requirements.
Mr. Chairman, Mr. Azarmi, you asked what the reasons for staff were for the chart that you see. The other reason for not going a straight 50% is as you get into the acreages, you end up with absurdly large numbers. 500,000 square feet, 200,000 square feet of lot coverage. Quite frankly, right now, first of all, that would make it if we had that much lot coverage, it would make it very difficult to enforce the ordinances as to use, et cetera. Second of all, the only usage we have seen that requires that much acreage on, or that much square footage on large acreage have been agricultural uses that by state statute are exempt from this ordinance anyway. That was the other reason. Staff would recommend, if you want to go the direction you're talking about, that we cut it off at an acre and add an acre, start reducing them. That would still mean that if you have an acre of property, if you had 1 acre of property, you'd still be able to put 20,000 square feet worth of buildings on your property, and then we'd kind of reduce the percentages from there. I would also point out to the commission, if it's the commission's desire to move forward with a 20-foot rear setback, you'll need to refer this back to staff, and we'll need to change section 25A, or excuse me, 25B, 25B to comply with that 20-foot rear setback.
I have other comments, but I would like to have some other commissioner's opinion first.
I've got a question about the height restriction on these smaller lots. Can they go 30 feet, 20 feet, or is it all single, one level, RO, I think is what it is?
Mr. Chairman, members of the commission, I believe it's 30 feet on most residential zones until you get to the multifamily residential zones, which are 45. The 30 feet is set to accommodate 2-story buildings. We've seen people design 2 stories with a loft, but you cannot get a full 3rd story in that 30 feet.
Right, that's fine.
Paul, you have any comments?
Yeah.
Paul, you're the architect. We need you. Come on.
Yeah.
I don't really have any comments. We usually just design whatever we design according to the ordinance that's presented. And I think Mehdi has a valid point to try to keep everything simple. I would concur with that.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
Okay, Ms. Barrett, how many 200,000 plus square foot, cover have we had in Mohave County so far?
I can't, beyond the agricultural uses, I cannot say that we've had any. We've had some that have exceeded 10,000 square foot.
Which is nothing wrong with that, right? I mean, the more permit fees and, things like that, construction.
Unfortunately, it was a type of construction that did not require any fees, and the neighbors greatly objected.
Yeah, but I mean, if we get to that point, which I doubt it very much, we get to that point that we're going to have 10,000 square foot, 20,000 square foot mansions coming to Mohave County, we should welcome them, instead of, discouraging it. So the probability of having a 200,000 square foot, building on one of these large acreages, I don't believe that it is, in our lifetime at least, is not going to happen. I don't see any area that, basically, have that. So my recommendation, I really don't see any logic, to be honest with you, to go through all these different charts and percentages and create more confusion, because what you're trying to do is to simplify it. So my recommendation would be to the commission and to the board of supervisors to stay with 50%, and also recommend that it would be evaluated for the front setback and rear setback to go to 20 each.
So basically what we're saying, and maybe what you said also, Chris, is if we send this back to staff and say, for example, we'd like to see just a flat 50% and forget the setbacks, because it wouldn't make any difference. You're still limited by whatever the setbacks are. But just 50%, and then we don't need to have, if they got 5 acres of land, they build a 500,000 square foot deal, and they got 2 million square feet of dirt, hey, go for it.
Mr. Chairman, I think we can make a motion on the 50% right now and send it to Board of Supervisors for their.
I don't know if we can do that.
Mr. Chairman, Commissioner Zarmi is correct. What you have before you is a staff recommendation. The 50% was a proposal that was included in the initial discussion. You're not bound by staff's recommendation. If you want to recommend something different, you can certainly do that.
Okay.
But at this point, we're only dealing with the lot coverage in, well, basically we're dealing with the density and lot coverage, not with setbacks.
Correct.
If you want to do something different with setbacks, that'll have to come back separately. But if you want to just deal with lot coverages, you can make whatever recommendation you guys decide to vote on.
Okay, so basically, if we put 50% in there, period, it makes no difference what the setbacks are. That's as big as you can build, rather than 48 or 49 or something.
Correct,
Mr. Chairman.
I'm sorry.
So they'd still be bound by the setbacks, though,
Oh,
even
absolutely.
with the
Oh, yeah.
50%, so,
Right.
okay, so. okay.
Absolutely.
Just wanted to clarify
Yeah.
that, so I understood.
Sure.
Okay, thank you.
I mean, I like the 20-foot in the back myself, but
Well-
25 is fine.
We are making that recommendation for staff to review and bring it back to us on a separate item, hopefully in the future, for the rear setback to be 20
20
feet,
feet,
also,
yeah.
20 and 20. If there's no discussion, I am ready to make a motion.
Any further discussion? Everybody understand what we're doing here? I'll entertain a motion on item number 9.
I'll make a motion to go with the simple 50% lot cover as the ordinance for item 9.
Second.
We have a motion and a second for item number 9. Those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. And do we need to, what do we need to do, Chris or Nick, to get this to go back to play with the possibility of doing the setbacks in the rear or making it more consistent?
Mr. Chairman, staff recommends that during discussion or commissioners' comments,
Okay.
that a commissioner bring up the subject, ask us to bring that, a review of the rear setbacks for residential property back to the commission.
Okay. Okay, item number 10.
Item number 10 is a discussion of a draft Board of Supervisor policy on the implementation of schedule for development per Arizona Revised Statute 11-814I for changes in zoning districts. State statute contains a phrase in it that allows the board to do conditional zoning for the development of specific use or uses for which the zoning ordinance or the rezoning was requested, and if at the expiration period specified in the resolution, the property has not been approved for the use for which it was conditionally approved, the board, after notification by registered mail to the owner and applicant who requests the rezoning, shall schedule a public hearing to grant an extension, determine compliance with the schedule for development, or cause the property to revert back to its former classification. To guide the department mainly in implementing that phrase in state statute, there's been what we've called an extension of time policy that was adopted by the Board of Supervisors in 1995. That basically said, gave guidance on to how that particular state statute was to be used by the county. The county actually fell into applying that condition to most rezones that went before it, and thank goodness most of the rezones were actually most of the property that was rezoned was actually developed for the purpose for which it was requested. We do have some that are not as items, earlier items in the agenda demonstrated. The Kingman and Golden Valley Association of Realtors have written the board asking Mohave County to cease this practice, but they believe it was illegal. The department has written a draft policy for consideration by both the commission and the board that takes a rather different perspective on the use of this particular statute. Right now, it seems to be, demonstrate why it should not be placed. And I think that what the policy does is it kind of flips that on its head and says, demonstrate why we should have this condition, demonstrate when we need it to protect the benefit of the county and the citizens that reside here. We tried to take a very common sense approach. What we tried to exclude from being covered by the condition that includes the schedule for development are things that were pretty routine. You had an earlier item on your agenda where they wanted to go from C2 uses to C2H uses along Highway 66. It's a small change in uses in a very logical location. And you'll notice there was no condition saying that if it wasn't developed, in fact, the thing is already has structures, et cetera, on it, but if it wasn't developed for the purposes, then, since it's a logical place for that rezone, we're not going to worry about a return to a schedule or a reschedule of development to revert back to its previous zones. It also identifies what we think are logical places to use it, such as large rezones. 10 years ago, the county had a lot of proposals for basically which were new cities in various places out in the county. Most of those did not have zoning that went with them, but if they did, and those things were not developed, having that large block of zoning could actually hamper some of the surrounding areas. So we thought that might be a good place or a good time to use that. We had large rezonings, that particularly ones that were extremely speculative in nature. The proposal, I'm willing to, if the commission wants me to elaborate on the policy, I will. I would like Mr. Taylor, since, there is a question of the county's, whether or not the county's use of this particular state statute is legal. I did want Mr. Taylor, as your legal counsel, to weigh in, if you don't mind.
Thank you.
Okay, members of the commission, the Arizona Revised Statute 11.814.I does provide that authority, as it's reported in the staff report, to condition zoning upon the schedule for specific development of specific uses. That authority was upheld by the Arizona Court of Appeals in Fidelity National Title Insurance versus Pima County, where the court held that the Board of Supervisors' action in placing a 2-year time limit for completion of certain conditions was authorized by actually the statute then was numbered 11.832, but it's the same provision. That essentially the court held that the new zoning did not vest until the conditions were fulfilled. Now, Mr. Hollingsworth raises some pretty practical problems that conditional zoning imposes, and the commission and the Board of Supervisors, as a matter of policy, may decide to limit conditional zoning to some of the circumstances as described by Ms. Ballard in her report. But the board does have the authority to condition zoning upon a schedule of completed development.
Thank you. Mr. Chairman, members of the commission, the department is not recommending that this schedule of development be adopted at this meeting. We're recommending that the commission hear the proposal, listen to public's testimony, and then refer it back to staff with any changes or other instructions that you may have. We'll bring it back up to the commission at your July meeting and ask for a decision to either, accept the proposal, modify it, and send it on to the Board of Supervisors as you deem appropriate.
We have
no speakers.
We have no speakers. No, there is no speakers.
Yeah, there's one.
There's no sign up.
Oh, Well, he certainly didn't sign up for it, so, but if you got some comments, we'll be willing to listen to you for a few minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, Commission members. My name is Dave Hollingsworth, Hollingsworth Properties, 3001 East Andy Divine Kingman. I did sign up, but I guess I didn't sign the right document, so I apologize for not signing the correct document. I'm here speaking as a director of the Kingman Golden Valley Association of Realtors on their behalf, and also with the consensus of the Lake Havasu Association and Bullhead City Mohave Valley Association. The concern that we have is expressed in the letter that we sent forward to you. You know, 3 parties have been adversely affected by the 7-year downturn that's happened in real estate here in Mohave County specifically. You know, today we're selling 40-acre parcels for $300 an acre, $12,000. I sold those same parcels for that price in 1975 when I got in the business here. That's how badly land investment has turned down in Mohave County. Not as badly in the cities, because within the cities, they have not invoked this reversion clause. So people still have that bundle of rights. They still have that entitlement on their property. You've already removed that entitlement from 2 properties in your meeting today, but given it on a 3rd one with no reversion. That's arbitrary and capricious.
I'll let you talk all you want, but they have plenty of opportunity to respond to the many letters that they get from the county, and they don't respond, they don't call, they don't do anything. So the fact that we've reverted some of these back, it's not our problem, it's their problem for not responding. I just want to make that clear, because they have plenty of opportunity, and we give them plenty of opportunity ourselves. So it's not staff and it's not the county, it's the individual property owners that came in and got that rezoning and then did nothing about it, including not responding to staff. So I just want to make that clear, because we go through this all the time. So anyway, go ahead.
Hundreds of properties have gone through foreclosure. Hundreds. Scores of those have been taken back by local banks here in Mohave County. They now have a beautiful picture of something on an 8.5 by 11 piece of paper that is not based in fact, is not recognized by the county, has no entitlements in place, and has reverted back to some previous zoning. Now, I was here when the previous zoning was done. The previous zoning was done by Mike Rosicki as a P&Z chairman when he got the Board of Supervisors to agree to allow him to wave his magic wand and say, AR 36, AR 10, AR 5, AR 1, all across this county. Does that mean that that's the correct zoning for that property? No. That was instituted by a county department head. Back to my point, 3 groups have lost on this. The private property owner has lost. The investment group is non-existent. They're not even coming to Mohave County, because why would they buy anything when they go through the process of putting out hard funds to appeal for a rezone, all of the meetings, and after that months of arduous task that they have, they get it approved and it reverts. They're not going to invest. The third loser is Mohave County. When you don't allow these zonings to stay in perpetuity like the cities do, you now do not have as valuable a piece of property and cannot collect the taxes on it that you could if that zoning was in place still on that piece of property. So these are the things that we have the problem with, you doing this reversion and doing it arbitrarily. Oh, this one looks good. It's just going from C2 to C2H, so we don't need it on that. But on this other one, we're going from AR 36 to AR 10. We're going to have to do it on that one. Can't do that, folks. That's not right. That's a taking, and that's what we're arguing.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
I have a question. Mr. Horowitz, you said arbitrarily. How do you define that arbitrarily?
Well, Ms. Ballard's statement was just that. We felt that there was no reason for us to put a reversion in on this particular one from C2 to C2H.
Well, what I'm saying is that,
we didn't do it.
Yeah, the staff, they don't roll the dice and say that, this one stays, that one doesn't stay. As Chairman Flouchet mentioned, if there is no progress, there is no change or anything like that, that would be the case. And so may I conclude that, what you're aiming for is not for a viable project, it's just for the land speculation, that you want to have that zoning stay with it, because if they have a viable project to proceed, there are many mechanisms in place by ample opportunity to, some of them goes about, 5 years and 10 years and all that they stay on it, that, they can, come back to us. And, the staff, P&Z Commission and Board of Supervisors were fully aware of the state of economy, and that's why, the extensions were given with the maximum time. And, again, when, as Chairman Flouché stated, when they are not even taking the time to write a letter and say that, we would be interested to even extend it, I really don't see your point, and I believe that the word arbitrarily is not really well placed in your statement.
I'm only quoting exactly what Ms. Ballard said.
I understand.
We made the decision, we, being staff, made the decision on this particular one that was right in front of you, that we didn't have to put a reversion on that one because it was just going from C2 to C2H. So there's no time periods involved on that.
But
that's the arbitrary part.
Any property that, they are, regardless of the zoning that is labeled right now, A36 or whatever you're referring to, if they have a viable project, that they want to change it, and it is within the ordinance of the Mohave County Land Use, I don't believe that, you're going to see any problems. And we had many of those coming before us if they wanted to change it to something that they have a project on. But, to come in and label a piece of property for the land speculation, I believe is not fair to the neighboring properties, because you don't know. Let's say that, you have, give you an example, Needles Mountain project. There was supposed to be a Sterling. It was supposed to be a city there at one time, 25 years ago or so. And then, obviously that didn't materialize. Well, there was another project showed up for, alternative energy, and they were pursuing that. And then, they're working on it, and they work on it and all that. But, to just label that and just, take it off the, neighboring opportunities, the neighboring properties that they have there, it would not be wrong. It would be wrong because, let's say that somebody would go ahead and label that as a SF1, 80 acre in there, and you put a SF1 in there. Well, it stays, single family residential. Now somebody comes out with a viable project and say, I would like to do something different that is going to be heavy investment in there. Well, we cannot then give that zoning because that is not compatible to that project next door. So I think that, if it is the way that we have the system, it is practical, it's been working very well, and I don't believe that you can blame the downturn of the economy or the land values that we have right now based on this reversion. I believe that has a bigger, complex, situation that we all are experiencing, in United States and especially in Mohave County.
Mr. Hollingsworth, I'm very well aware of the real estate market and how all this stuff works, and I know you do too. But we have had some subdivisions and rezones that go back 8, maybe even 10 years, where every couple of years they come in and get an extension of time, and it all boils down to reading your mail. And while it'd be nice maybe to have some of the stuff really hard zoned so you don't have to go back and do it, I would be hard pressed to pick those areas that I would want to say is going to stay C2H forever, especially depending upon the neighborhood or industrial or heavy industrial manufacturing. I look at all the things that we've approved in the past, and I sympathize with what you're saying, but if they got a project, and if it's a real project, okay, and not just rezoning it to satisfy themselves, I'm having a little bit of a trouble of hard zoning stuff forever and ever, but I think this is a good opportunity for the members of the commission to review this stuff, and maybe next month come back and maybe get their comments off to staff, and maybe somebody else has got some other ideas, and I'm always open to ideas, but, you know, things that don't make a lot of sense sometimes just don't make a lot of sense.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
One of the other items that, you know, it is recommended by staff is going to be the land use ordinance that I believe is going to be done, you know, shortly, I assume. And I think that would be a perfect time for you to, and the team that you have, and, you know, from Bullhead and from Havasu that you mentioned, to come to those meetings and, you know, share their experience. So if there is any modification, then we can have a healthy, you know, debate on it, and then would be incorporated into that land use ordinance that is about to happen.
Could I perhaps finish what I was saying?
Sure, go right ahead.
You have both now expressed your opinions. Could I finish what I was saying?
Absolutely.
The whole process of zoning is detailed out in your ordinance. And when someone comes in and pays those fees to do that, hires outside consultants, attorneys, engineers, architects, whomever, goes through all of the meetings at this level with the staff first, but then also with the neighbors, and then with the supervisors, multiple meetings, multiple months' time, for you then to put a reversion clause on this saying, okay, we're going to give you, you proved your point, it passed, but we're going to give you a reversion that says, if you don't do anything in a year, it's going to revert back. That's not fair. That is a taking. And I would argue that even though you can legally do that underneath the statute, I'm not saying you can't legally do that, we as realtors view that as a taking of that private property right. That's the question that's before you. Is that the best way to do this? Or as someone's proved that that is the rezone that should be done, now if someone else wants to redo it, let them go through the same process. That's all we're saying.
Well, and I hear what you're saying. I really do. But if they get two, three letters in the mail, and they don't respond to it, if there was a complaint on something and they didn't respond to it, what do you say about their management skills then?
Well, I'm not, every instance is going to be different.
And that's the only reason they get reverted.
Every instance is going to be different, but guess what? If that reversion clause wasn't there, it wouldn't matter, because then I can call to the county and I can say, what's the zoning on this piece of property? And they'll say, here's the zoning on that piece of property. Now, if I do that, that's not necessarily the case, because it may revert in the future. So I sell a piece to the person next door to that property, saying you're buying a piece next door to a C2H zone. Perfect, that's what I want. But it reverts. That's not correct either.
Well, there again.
But there's a resolution of record that shows that there's those conditions in place, so that can be easily found.
You know, we're pretty bright up here. We really pay attention to all this stuff. And so if something was conditionally zoned for C2 and the guy next door wants to come in, or C2H, and wants to come in and get C2H, we know that. I mean, we're, like I said,
we don't. In the public, we don't.
And actually, if you went to staff, they could probably...
we call every day.
Well,
every day we call for zonings, but we don't know all of.
Not everybody is.
We don't know all the terms and conditions on that ordinance. We only know what they say. Here's the zoning existing today.
Well, all I'm saying is, if you got realtors out there that are doing stuff and they don't know anything about planning and zoning, or the process or the ordinances, they shouldn't be doing it.
Where's
they
that
should
come
not
from?
be doing it. It's out of their realm of expertise.
Where is that coming from?
That's just stuff that I deal with every day.
I take affront to that.
Well,
I take affront to that on behalf of 1,000,003 realtors in the United States of America. And you're a realtor yourself.
That's correct.
And I take affront to that.
Well, if you don't know what you're talking about, you shouldn't be talking about it. That's all I'm saying.
And I take affront to that also.
Well, if you don't know anything about planning and zoning, you shouldn't be talking to people about planning and zoning. So,
what kind of public meeting is it where the chairman of this group can talk to a 38-year businessman in this town and say those things about the industry that he's in and his fellow realtor? What kind of person does that?
Well, a person that actually listens to a lot of people that come before this meeting. And I deal with a lot of people, and you do also. I'm just saying that there are some people that are not competently doing things. And if you know something about it, or you get educated about the ordinances and the planning and zoning, then maybe all these things that you're talking about wouldn't be an issue.
I'm extremely disappointed, and I'll relay this back to all three associations.
Okay, I wish you
because I am
would.
extremely disappointed to even hear that type of language coming from you, Carl.
Well,
extremely disappointed.
You deal with it and I deal with it. Anyway. Any additional questions or comments?
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
In the interest of making sure that the commission actually, and I assume you've read all this, but just to be sure you know where staff was coming from and what we tried to include in this schedule of development. Mr. Hollingsworth brought up an issue of minor land divisions. We did try and address that, and we did ask the question, is there another way other than having the zoning revert back to address the issue that was of concern to us, and that was somehow obtaining a survey or some sort of measurement of the property done by a qualified individual. And we decided that there was. So what we are recommending as a part of this policy, and it is a bit broken up, and I admit that, so I wanted to clarify that, is that rezones that are residential in nature, and basically all they're doing is doing minor increases in density. So what you're ending up with would be a minor land division. It complies with the general plan. We're saying do not put a schedule of development on that particular rezone. Rely on issuance of the building permit to make sure that that survey or that measurement of the property was done according to the conditions on the rezone as approved by the board.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
Just for the other commissioners, I just want to share my experience on this topic. Mohave County and its staff, they do not pick and choose, on terms of like reverting or not reverting. There's a process, and I've yet to see a reversion after like 12 months, unless, the applicant is asking for it. They're understanding about, the economy. I know that, they extended the time for the past, 3-4 years since 2007, 2008. And it's a very easy process to follow up. It's not time consuming. And if you have a viable project and you have some site plan done and all that, it is very simple process, to go through. So to, come in and indirectly accusing the staff that they're not consistent on this and creating, problem with the value of the properties, I don't think that is correct.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
I'm president-elect of the Board of Real Estate of Bullhead Valley, Bullhead City, Mohave Valley Board of Realty. I've never seen a copy of this letter, nor will we have evaluated Mr. Hollingsworth's.
I'm not on the board at Havasu, but I've never seen it either. And quite frankly, as a side note, a lot of things that we have to clean up are things where real estate agents tell the person that, yeah, you can build a second house, or yes, you can do all this stuff. And that, he's willing, or he can say what he wants to say, but I know better.
But I just know that we have never seen this letter, and I doubt very much that Lake Havasu City has either.
I doubt it either. I don't know, but I don't know if anybody in
Mr. Chairman?
Bullhead. Yes.
I just have one question. Maybe I should direct it to staff. Now that this has come up with all of this, is the assessor's office ever going to work with the county zoning office so that when people bring up a piece of property on the computer and it says property use, commercial, use code 1021A commercial, permitted use in land commercial, so you go ahead and you go, wow, so you talk to your realtor? No, that's guys.
Yeah. No.
And they say, oh, it's commercial. So you buy this piece of property, okay, and you've had it and you don't do anything with it, and then all of a sudden you rent it out to a guy who's selling hay, and you find out that it's not commercial, and of course you've never really checked it because yeah.
Chris?
Happens all the time.
Mr. Chairman,
curious.
members of the commission, I don't know about it happening all the time, but we certainly run into it a whole lot more than we want to. I don't know what the solution to this one is. We have been talking for the last couple of weeks to the assessor's office on not so much what they have in their land use codes, but rather, how they assess the property. And what's in their land use codes and how they assess the property is primarily based on what they see, what their assessors see when they're in the field. And when you pull up the assessor screen, there's nothing in there indicating the zoning whatsoever. It's strictly their screen from RealAware. I will point out, there are ways via online to find out what the zoning is for most of the county. We'll try and make those more available to the public. However, I think part of the problem that we are addressing, or we're kind of coming up against here, is that the Development Services Department and the Assessor's Office have very different assignments and very different roles, and this is not by virtue of the board, but by virtue of state statute. So what you see as supply to the public are as a result of our statutory roles. So I can't say that we'll ever get together. Would I like there to be more information on that sheet? I think it would solve a lot of problems for all of us, but in the meantime, the only thing I can offer is to try and make some of our information that is there more widely known and more readily available.
And I believe that's a tax use code, not a zoning use code.
That's right.
Anyway.
Right. Well, my point is when people pull these properties up and it says land use and
right,
all of this stuff, and then assessor, like at one time I know this property was AR residential. They put a garage up, and as soon as that happened, it went to, instead of land use residential, all of a sudden I'm looking at commercial. Whoops, sorry, and paying higher taxes, and it's supposed to be this, this, and this, and that's one of those revisions. The gentleman died, and of course. But anyway, I was just curious if at any point in time that this would be able to, when you pull these up, go, oh, guess what? This has a zone of this on it, how hard that would be, but.
Here again, because we have different marching orders, I'm not sure, but we are trying to make the zones more readily available to the public. They are on the GIS.
They shouldn't, bypass the real estate associates that go directly and buy. That's what happens. They should go to the real estate associates, and then they have no problem because they do the due diligence and they make sure that you're taken care of.
Oh yeah, they do.
And Mr. Chairman, Rick wants me to point out. We have no control over what the assessor's website, what goes on. We have control over.
Where's Mr. Hendricks when we need him then?
I understand that Mr. Hendricks don't have any control over the assessor he's elected, I think.
He's probably watching, so be careful.
Okay, that's right.
But we sure provide all the assistance that we can, and then that's our goal, and we're going to be working with him very closely, and that's what we can offer.
We have at the bottom there of one of the pages there kind of your recommendation to continue this for 30 days, and I think that would be probably good to give everybody a chance to really read through this thing and come back, and if you have any comments, send those on to Chris.
Mr. Chairman? Do we need to make a motion on this item today? Okay, it's just a review.
This is only a discussion item.
There is a no, so.
Mr. Chairman, I just had just a quick question for staff. I noticed Mr. Hollingsworth said that the municipalities work under different requirements, and he was saying that the property in municipalities do not revert back. That's kind of what I had heard from him saying. And from my experience, I wasn't aware of that, but I was wondering if you could clarify that.
Mr. Chairman, Mr. Selberg, I don't know that I can completely clarify that. I will say that the enabling legislation and state statute for planning is significantly different for cities and municipalities as to counties. Right. So they have different powers, different instructions from the state legislature. I do not know, and whether or not the cities have the authority to revert zoning back.
I was on the Planning Commission down in Bullhead City, and most everything that we passed there, we gave them a time limit on it for development. So wouldn't that be in line with what?
Same thing we're doing here.
Yeah. Right, exactly. So I was just, it didn't make sense what he was saying. I was just.
Yeah, the attorney assures me that the wording is pretty much the same in both the city's enabling legislation and the counties. So this is one area where we're not significantly different. But once that authority is there, then the governing body, City of Kingman Common Council, can decide to implement it according to their own policies and their own objectives. So I can only assume from, and I'm not familiar with how the city of Kingman looks at this, but I can only assume from his statements that they've decided that this is a provision or an authority in state statute that they don't want to implement. But they could wake up to, they could meet tomorrow and decide to do so.
He may only be speaking for himself, too.
I think he might be, because Lake Havasu City, just as an example, compared to Kingman and Bullhead, when Lake Havasu City was done, it was one big master plan. Everything, when it was done, was zoned, a specific zoning, hard zoning, and the only way it changes today is if you go in and change it.
Right.
So everything was zoned industrial, everything was zoned commercial and limited commercial and residential, duplex and all that stuff, as a complete final plat for the entire city.
It's a planned community.
It's a planned community. So stuff in the county, there's just, everything, the majority of the county is all zoned AR. So unless you've got a specific use, then there's no reason to rezone it.
Well, I noticed on his letter that it doesn't say Kingman,
it's his own
Valley.
letterhead.
Well, it
It's
says
on
Kingman,
Hollingsworth
Valley.
Properties.
Yeah.
Letterhead, okay.
Well,
Okay, I'm a little bit confused. Do we have a recommendation on this, or do we vote, or we don't, or?
no,
Mr.
it's coming
Chairman,
back
this
next month.
was intended to be a discussion item that we
Okay.
would bring back to you in the month of
Right.
July. But if you have any directions for staff, please let us know if you have them at this meeting. If you don't, and you as an individual commissioner want to bring something to our attention, please call either John or I.
I think staff position is the correct position.
Okay, I'll entertain a motion to continue this for our review and get back.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second on item number 10 to continue. Those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And we'll see it next month.
11.
11. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, codes are always changing. What do you want us to do with this? Just agree to the citizens' participation plan? Is that what
Mr. Chairman, may I say a few words on that?
Absolutely.
This item is an informational item only, and I just wanted to keep the Commission informed, because we plan to bring the citizen participation plan to the Commission for approval next month. And the schedule is that, as you know, that Mohave County Board of Supervisors created a new Building Code Advisory and Appeals Board, and they had their first meeting, and they, in concept, agreed to a citizen participation plan on those dates that you see there on the draft. And our goal is to get public participation as much as possible, because that's going to have an impact on, on all contractors and developers throughout the county. And according to statutes, we will have to bring all their decisions to this commission and to the Board of Supervisors, and that they will make the final decision. So at this time, we just wanted to keep the commission informed. And their schedule is that that board, the Building Advisory Board, will have a meeting on June 17th, and we anticipate that they formalize and they approve this citizen participation plan, because they, in concept, that's what they discussed, or they may make modifications. And then we plan to bring this back to this commission for their July meeting, and we wanted to keep you informed on that. And if you have any questions or any comments, that we'd be glad to answer.
All right. So on to item number 12. And that is pretty much back to what we were talking about earlier in the meeting about updating the ordinances. Is that Mr. Zami, is that correct?
Correct, Mr. Chairman. I think that's a very proper decision that the director and also the staff are making. It's time for it, and I think that that would be very practical to do it this way.
All right. Any questions or thoughts on this right now? Okay. If not, then
Well,
I'll
Mr. Chairman, may I say on item number 12, what we are recommending is that the commission possibly name a committee of commissioners, not more than 4, so we don't have problem with the open meeting laws, that will kind of spearhead this effort, and we would work with them. And if you wish, maybe for consideration, I don't know, and you don't have to do it here, but you may want to discuss it, that who would be the commissioners that would be willing to participate on that committee.
Ellie, any thoughts on that? Anybody want to volunteer right now?
Well, I've been involved with the last one, so I think I'm going to be involved in this one too.
Yeah.
I nominate Mehdi.
Huh?
I nominate Mehdi.
Okay, Maddie's good. Maddie's good.
I'll second that. Call for
All right.
the question? Oh.
Yep, I'll volunteer.
Okay.
There you go.
I'd be willing to.
That would be
Okay. We want to keep it under 5, is that what you're saying?
Under 4, yeah, 4, yeah, under
Okay.
5.
All right. Anybody else? If not, then...
If you need an architect, I'd be happy to help.
All right, Paul.
There you go. Well, Paul and I, we were part of it anyway. I was just looking at you. Why come, you're not volunteering yourself?
Right.
I'll contact everybody and send you guys an email. And when would this start?
Mr. Chairman, we probably hold at least an initial meeting to kind of set the stage, et cetera, as soon as we could get everybody together.
Mr. Chairman, excuse me, could I get the names of the people that had volunteered, please?
Meddy, Jack, Paul, and Bob.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, that is going to be most probably in later part of July, right? I assume, right? The first meeting.
In the later, excuse me, Mr. Azarmi, would you repeat that?
The first meeting that you're planning to schedule most probably is going to be later part of month of July, right? I hope.
Yeah, any convenient. We were actually hoping to start a little earlier than that, but we will be accommodating all of the commissioners.
I appreciate that.
Mr. Chairman, I would also like to point out that the scope of work is fairly broad and fairly general at this point in time. We will, as particularly after the first meeting of the subcommittee, we will be tightening up that description and start adding some time frames to it. And we will keep the commission apprised of that.
Okay. I don't think, so you're not going to be back till July 15th.
Correct.
So sometime after July 15th, and then I think we just need to coordinate it with Chris because we got to get staff involved and all kinds of other preliminary things that have got to be done.
And it needs to be advertised because the public participates there too, right?
Yeah. Well, there's got to be public notices put out, correct?
For these, for the meetings of the way the methodology is proposed is that the committee will meet, and the initial meeting will be basically organizational. So we'll, basically decide how we're going to eat the elephant, how we're going to, what's going to be included on the review list, how we're going to go about organizing that review, and then start actually looking at text changes. Those text changes will be brought back on a regular basis, possibly even as much as once a month, for the commission to take a look at.
Okay.
And what we will probably do concerning the inclusion of the citizenry is we're drafting a citizen participation plan that will probably have some sort of generalized notice for the committee meetings and more specific notice for the commission meetings.
Can, even though we've got 4, can a member of the commission not participate but just observe in the audience? Is that, or do you have to do something, or would that be considered open law violation?
Mr. Chairman, I'm going to refer that question to your attorney.
It would probably be better not to do that because, an open meeting is defined as a gathering of a quorum where potential business will be discussed. And even if one person refrains from discussing, you've got a quorum there where things are being discussed.
So if we have these committee meetings, are we going to have them here, and will they be televised?
No, they don't know.
I'm just asking the question because then that eliminates a lot of...
No, Mr. Chairman, what we had in mind for the committee meeting would be working meetings, and that would be probably out at Development Services in a meeting room.
Okay.
And we certainly can invite the public, if they want to bring comments to it. But it would be working meetings, and we would go through the ordinance and just go section by section, and then identify. Basically, we don't want to rewrite the whole thing, but we want to identify problem areas, and then we want to address those, and that's where we're looking for comments and focus from the commissioners. And then we're going to, what we have in mind, the open meetings will be here with the full commission, and we're going to bring those periodically, those sections to the commission for discussion and make sure we're going in the right direction. That's what we have in mind, and our staff will be available and will be at the meetings, and we can invite other experts and other resources from other county departments, and we will invite the public, but the commission members will decide how formal those meetings will be. It's probably going to be a working meeting.
Well, my primary reason for asking the question is one of the commissioners may say, I think I'll just pop in and see what's going on in the meeting, I just didn't want to encourage that. So, all right, 12. Do we need a motion to on item number 12?
The gentleman has a question.
Yes. If you're going to speak, please come up to the podium for a second. State your name.
My name is Max Baker. I'm here on item 5. I had 10:30 written on my calendar, and looked like I missed my item here.
5 was approved.
Oh, okay. Well, I just wanted to make sure that everything went okay.
Yeah, it did.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Okay, back to a motion on item 12.
I'll make the motion to approve per staff recommendation.
Second.
We have a motion to approve item number 12 per staff recommendations. Those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye. Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Any,
We can talk about the comments about the 20-foot now.
yeah, we can do that. Oh, let's do call to the public first.
The only person from the public just left. You should have answered him. So at least we have one person.
I just forgot. All right, we'll close the public hearings and call to the public. Commissioners' comments, announcements?
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
I guess in that discussion we had earlier on that item 10 about the setback requirement, if we could ask staff to look into it and bring it back for review.
You're talking about?
Setback, rear setback.
Okay, as mentioned in item 10, or just as a single item thing?
Well, no, I mean, I'm just saying that I was referring to that particular item, but, you know, no,
Okay.
no item number.
All right, all right, all right.
Whatever number you like to put on that, that would be fine.
Thank you, Mr. Azami.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
It appears all of our microphones are on.
Well, the meeting's going on for so long.
Yeah, meeting's pretty much over. Staff had just asked for clarification on the 20-foot setbacks. If you want us to concentrate our review on any particular zones or lot sizes.
Well, I guess the discussion was about the single-family residential, right?
Well, yeah, but if we're going to address the setbacks in the front and the rear and the sides, if that's what we're going to do, then we probably ought to take the time to do it on...
To be honest with you, Mr. Chairman, since the committee or subcommittee is going to review it shortly, that can be addressed at the same time, and I think that would be easier.
I like that idea better myself.
There you go.
Okay, so we'll forego that conversation and include that in the committee of four, band of four.
Fab Four?
Any additional questions or comments? Staff, anything from us? If not, thank you for...
Chris? Excuse me, Mr. Chairman. Chris, could I get some copies of Staff Report 10? Because I do not believe that the Kingman Golden Valley Board of Real Estate had anything to do with that. And also for Havasu and Bullhead. And I'll have you all an answer by next meeting. No, just mail me a copy of it and I'll go from there. Okay? Thank you.
All right. Do we have a motion to adjourn the meeting?
So moved.
I'll make a motion. Speak up.
Motion is approved. Those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Meeting adjourned.
Crystal, you need